If you were to start this business, what's the absolute best way that you can set it up? How can we maximize our profits? Is there a way that we can make a whole bunch of money without investing any money into the business? Zero risk, high reward? I've been thinking a lot about this. And what if we took the best of both worlds and combined them together to make one ultimate deal? Is this possible? All right, first, let's take a look at how EV charging businesses make money. There are three main ways. So the first way is by marking up the project itself. The next way that EV charging companies make money is through something called the networking fee. So each EV charger will need to be connected to the network or have software, which costs $25 per month for a level 2 charger. And we're going to resell that to the host or our client for $100 per month. And the last way that EV charging companies make money from EV chargers is through the revenue that goes into the chargers. So whenever somebody uses the charger, they have to pay for it, right? So we're going to take profit off of every time they pay for that electricity. And this is the best way to make money from chargers. But it's tricky to do. And usually it's something that you don't want to share with anyone. You don't want to split these profits. You want all these profits to yourself. But here's the tricky part. If the host or our client, really whoever is installing our chargers on their property, if they pay for everything, then it's going to be kind of tricky to get them to give up the profits that go into the chargers. But that's what we want because that's where the huge growth potential is. If people continue to buy EVs, which they are every day, then that means more EVs on the road means more customers and more people using your chargers. So the profits will just continue to go up. So how do we get those profits? Is there a way that we can still collect all the money from the chargers without actually paying for the chargers? And this is what led me to this idea. So traditionally, this is how it works. So if the host pays for the chargers, then they receive all the profit. And we would make money off of marking up the project cost, and then we would bill them a monthly networking fee. So like I said at the beginning, we get $2,000 for the project and then $75 per month from the charger. And then the other option, if we found the location that we really liked and we thought it was going to be super profitable, then we would be like, hey, look, we'll pay for everything. We'll pay to put the chargers in. But in return, we are asking for 100% of the profits that go into the chargers. Now, you don't have to have a networking fee because the charging profits will cover those costs. So that's a high level overview of the two offers. But what if we were able to combine those two and get the best of both worlds? And this is what led me to my ultimate offer. And to explain this concept, I'm going to tell you a little story first. So back in the 1980s, before I was born, my dad used to manage this restaurant, right? And there was this bar. And inside the bar, he had a bunch of these old school games. Like this was 1980. So think like pinball machines and pool tables, right? And he said that people used to love these games. They used to come into the bar. You'd have regulars that would come in like every weekend and they would just spend so much time using the pool tables and buying drinks and spending more money. And this was perfect for my dad because it created a pretty good little community there, loyal customers. And most importantly, they were spending money, right? But the last thing my dad wanted to deal with was if something went wrong with these games. Like if the pinball got stuck or the pool table wasn't working, he didn't want people coming up to him being like, hey, what's going on with these games? They took my money or whatever, right? But he said the best thing was there was this guy who actually owned the games. They were his games. And what he would do was he would come in once a week and collect all the money, all the coins that went into the games. And he would, take a look at them and make sure that they were working properly. If there were problems, he would fix them. So my dad knew that if anything went wrong with these games, he just had to make one phone call and that guy, let's call him Bob would show up and he would make sure that they were up and running again and get everything working smoothly. So my dad said the best thing was he didn't care about the profits. The profits were nothing considering, the business itself is making so much money. He was mostly excited about the peace of mind. That's what Bob gave him was the peace of mind. He let Bob use his location to make, his money off of his games. And in return, my dad didn't have to worry about anything because he had so many other things to deal with, managing the staff. And as you can imagine, everything else that's going on in a restaurant on a day-to-day basis. The last thing he wants is one more thing to deal with. The money wasn't worth the problem, but it was worth it to Bob because Bob had these games all over the city. He had pinball machines and pool tables throughout tons of different bars and restaurants in the city. So it was worth it to him because he would just drive around to all these spots, make sure that they were working properly and collect all his money, which adds up when you have a bunch of these locations all bringing in money for you. And this concept applies perfectly to what we're talking about here for EV chargers. The most valuable thing to these buildings or these properties, these condos, It's not the actual profit that goes into the EV chargers. It's two things. It's the service of offering EV charging to the people that live in the building or their customers. And it's the peace of mind that they don't have to deal with any problems. And that's what we're going to leverage to get the profit from the chargers. So let's say the offer goes like this. Hey, Mr. Host or client, here's the quote to install the chargers. You have to pay for them. They're your chargers. But now you have two options. You can either choose to pay a monthly networking fee, which means you'll have to operate the chargers. You'll have to manage them. If anything goes wrong, it's on you. And it can be a little bit complicated if you've never dealt with EV chargers before, right? Or you can choose to have us take care of the chargers for you. We'll manage everything. You don't need to pay us a monthly networking fee, but in return for our service and the peace of mind that we're offering you to deal with any issues that arise, is we're requesting all the profits that go into the chargers. And those profits will cover those networking fees we told you about and any of the operation costs that it will be for us to manage any of the problems. In addition to the services we're offering, we'll also help you apply for those rebates to the government to get a big chunk of the money back to help reimburse you for paying for the chargers. They're still your chargers, so you'll get the carbon credits and the rebates that go into them. I think this is a win-win. It's best of both worlds. You get your profits and they get their peace of mind. Now, it might not work for every building, but you can keep this offer in your back pocket if you see an opportunity arise. If you think this is a good idea and want to learn exactly how to do this in order, all the steps, then I have all that information for you in the course below. Thanks so much for subscribing, and I'll catch you on the next one. Cheers.